I'm Dane Rose, and I want to talk about the art of preparing ourselves for a great relationship. So, who is a prepared person? And does one need to be prepared to have a great relationship or find a great partner? Well, I don't think that we need to be perfectly prepared. We can stumble into a great relationship to a certain amount. We can allow grace is what I'm meaning. But I think even for that, perhaps the most important thing is to be able to recognize a resonance of beauty and possibility. So there's lots of enticing and enticements in the world, and unfortunately, because our mind is focused on survival, and because one of the core fears is the unknown, there's a way that we can be enticed unhealthily simply because we want to know what's going on. Someone presents a weird set of circumstances and a weird vibe, and we may avoid it, or some of us may say, that's weird, what's going on there? And actually move towards that person because of the mystery. Could be the positive, sense of mystery, or it could just be our survival brain that wants certainty and clarity. And so, sometimes confusing, unintegrated people who just run away in their confusion have a certain enticement around them. But in this video, I want to explore how we can prepare ourselves consciously for a great partnership. Now, I think there's a lot to be said for self-awareness. Who are we? How do we flow? And where and how can we connect in a way that creates that strong flow in a very positive direction? So, for example, the book The 5 Love Languages explores the fact that each of us have a pattern that we're predisposed towards when it comes to love. And by predisposed, what I mean is that if love flows to us in this language, and the languages are gifts, touch, acts of service, i.e. helping me fix my car, quality time, and words of love, words of appreciation. So in my case, number one is quality time. I want to know that someone who's open and interested in love with me has and is giving quality time. Number two, words. Words to explore and flush out who we are, what's beautiful about us, what we're inspired by, where we're going. And finally, touch. As soon as the quality time and the words are revealing a possibility, like it could be something. I'm beginning to see you. I want to touch you. And I want to be touched by you. Now, it doesn't matter that, that if that touch is sexual, what matters is familiarity. Like, can I put my arm around you? Can we hold hands? Can we share a warm and relaxed hug? And in this way, that's my map. Now, if someone runs right into touch, particularly if I just sense that it can go on forever, I feel a little nervous. Because it's like, are you going to just suddenly leave me? Because the quality time is, not there. Your definition is, 20, 30 minutes and then you're off. And I'm a little bit kind of jolted out of the mood and out of that flow, as opposed to, we've got 3 or 4 hours to just explore and create here. Who are you? What do you need? Am I going to be able to satisfy you? Are you going to be able to satisfy me? All of these come up if the touch comes first. So for me, it's not just these 3 love languages. It's also the flow and the sequence, and kind of the dosage. It's quality time starts at around 3.5 hours. And then, just opens up from there. So, someone that has 3 to 4 hours is a pretty rich, it's like this rich tapestry of time in which to explore. But also, if someone has a couple of days, not we have to be together, but available, like, this is here to explore our flow as much as we want to. Just that reservoir of time, so abundant, so yes. So quality time, words of appreciation, but also words of understanding and validation. Like, yes, we both want this. Flowing into touch. So this is my language, and what the 5 love language books can help you explore is what is your language and in what way and in what dosage. So, self-awareness. Do your logistics support your flow? Whatever your flow is, in whatever way, do your logistics support your flow, and when? For example, I work a month, and then I take a month off. So work a month, take a month off. Now, in my take a month off months, I can do the deep dives that allow a relationship to kind of open up gently on its own, and then explore, and then bond, and then form an intensity, and form a clarity, a crystalline clarity, such that I can then, a month later, be in a place of sustaining that and having a routine, knowing what we need. And in my case, I structure my business around it. I structure my business around the crystalline nature of the relationship. The relationship comes first. The work flows around the relationship. And that's also a really important principle for me. And I know that. And so I've chosen a business and I've chosen a lifestyle that supports the optimum relationship being formed. Now, this is also where a certain level of integrity comes into play. Because for me, I know without a doubt that relationships come first. Meaning that I know without a doubt from past experience that a really great relationship a really great growing and loving relationship is going to bring more joy and more value into the world than anything else that I do. More value to the other person, more value to me, more joy, more creativity, more delight. And for me, that's what it's all about. And so it'd be out of integrity to try and fit a wonderful relationship into an okay career. My career is great. You know, it's okay. It's what I want to be doing. But to try and fit a relationship around my career is not optimal. And so this is part of preparation, to prepare an environment. And I want to step back one more time and look at this concept, because we have the environment and we have the seed. Now, seeds are what they are, possibilities. And when you buy a seed pack, you might see something like 98.6% germination. And what that means is that if those seeds are scattered on perfectly moist, rich, black organic soil and watered just in the right way, that 98.6% of those seeds, that for every seed planted, or for every 100 seeds planted, 98.6 are going to germinate and they're going to grow. So for every 100, you're going to get 98.6 lettuces that are going to germinate, and they're actually going to grow into lettuces. And when the germination says 1%, if you put 100 seeds in of those types of seeds. Now, in this seed analogy, there are two important variables. The first one is the quality of the seed, and the second is the quality of the environment, because the 98.6 germination rate is in moist, rich, ideally suited soil with adequate water. If you take those same seeds, those same precious 100 seeds, and scatter them out on the desert, none of them will germinate. If you scatter them on scraggy soil in the rainy season, 40% may germinate, and of those, only 2% may remain after the rainy season is over and there's no water. What I'm getting at is the environment is more important in most cases than the seeds. Seeds, by their nature, have possibility. They have the possibility to germinate. And whether the quality of the seed is 60% germination or 96% germination or 99.8% of germination, none of those seeds will germinate in a poor environment. And what I'm getting at is that part of preparation is preparing the environment for you and another person with the capacity, the raw capacity to love one another, to succeed, to germinate, to grow, as opposed to fizzle out. You've got the raw capacity, but you're fizzling out because there's not enough water, because there's not enough fertilizer, because there's not enough undisturbed environment. That is, as you're trying to germinate, you've got so many disturbing distractions that you don't actually click and flow, you've got this constant disruption. And I want you to kind of imagine these delicate little seeds starting to rise up and grow and meeting this very kind of determined gardener who doesn't quite know what they're doing and is just kind of slicing and disturbing the soil, like let's just stir up this soil and stir up this soil. And when relationships are so tender like that, one step from a deer on, right on that seed, and that whole possibility, that whole possible future is just destroyed. And so there's something very fragile and very magical about a seed opening up. Now, here's the thing. You cannot make a seed open up. It's innate. What you can do is you can provide an environment in which that seed does open up. Now, there are many parts of the environment, and of course, most romantic contexts talk about the clothing and the perfume and the haircut and all of that. And that is part of the environment, but more it's the allure. I would say that the environment is the quality time available, number one. The ecology of our thoughts. Are we predisposed to see beauty and innocence? Beauty and innocence. Are we predisposed to see beauty and innocence and to feed and nourish it in our environment? Or are we predisposed to see our fears, our unresolved past judgments, our fears of being judged ourselves? Are we predisposed to seeing that to such a degree that with limited time, often created out of the belief in failure, meaning when you believe you will fail, you don't set a generous amount of time. You don't show up in your best position. When you believe you will succeed, when you believe there's a chance, one creates a sense of possibility. So, what is the belief? What is the environment of thoughts and emotions? The environment of time. And this is also, I would suggest, a better filter than trying to analyze the innate goodness of a seed. In other words, you can focus on the seeds, like I want really good seeds. Remember, even the best seeds will wither in a desert. Or you can focus on a really healthy environment and see which of many good seeds is available and ready to germinate in the soil that you've created. And there's one other plant analogy that I think is quite important here, and it's the analogy of the pot. Because there are many kinds of relationships. Some last a few hours, some last a few days, a few months, a few weeks. Some last a lifetime. Now, this gets into the magic of the pot. So you've got the quality of your soil. How easy is it for something to take root in your soil? Well, magic, wonder, joy, innocence, trust. These are rich soils. Then you've got the size, the quality, the amount of quality time. This is like how big can this relationship grow in the paradigm and in the time that you've created for it. So, and and what's the nature of the seed. Now, sometimes you've got a lettuce, and you can give it a whole bed to itself, but it's only going to grow, really healthily, and it only needs about 2 feet of soil. It's kind of wasted space. But when you plant a redwood, which can grow rapidly, up 30, 40 feet tall, but you put it in a little 1 to 2 foot pot. That's my box. I've got Thursday afternoons, I've got Friday evenings from about 7:30 to 11, and I'm kind of busy the rest of the time. So you've got this narrow pot, and you've got this redwood. Now, in the first 1 or 2 dates, you're growing, you're germinating, and it's going, and it's fine. And then it just takes a little bit longer, and now that redwood's 3 foot tall. What's going to happen? Is it going to start feeling there's no place for my deep roots? This is not the person for me. And are they going to leave and transplant themselves into another pot? Are they going to start becoming root-bound and twisted, where they're contorting themselves because they're attracted to you? They're contorting themselves to fit into this narrow container you've provided, and in that contortion they become less healthy and root-bound. Or are you going to grow with them into a bigger and bigger pot? Or invite them in? A redwood is of course very attracted to a huge area. So here's my space for us to grow. And we can see however we want to fill in that. And so these concepts of the environment are actually more important in many ways than the seeds themselves. And I would say, that we can see this particularly with babies. Every child is, beautifully prepared to grow as they come into the world. Now, as they, hit certain types of genes and certain types of mixes and realities and come in and are born, and as they grow into this environment, the statistics are determined by the environment. Meaning, if this baby is born in Denmark, the exact same baby has one statistic of ending up a criminal. And if they're born in the United States, they have a much higher statistic of being born into a life of, being criminal. In one environment, a black person will have a very high probability of having, wonderful esteem and feeling honored and beautiful for who they are and connected. And in another environment, they'll have a high percentage of, that race will end up in crime, not because of the person, but because of the environment of thoughts and ideas within the culture, coupled with the environment of the legal system and the environment of child rearing. In other words, it's the environment that is more important than the person in determining the probability field. Now, you can still have, 98% failure in a given environment. And that's what many of us have in our relationship environment, 98% of our relationships fail. And you can have this one seed, fight their way through all the obstacles and turn that all around and come out a winner. In that 2% germination window, someone lucked out or fought their way in to be the winner. But we don't want to have possibilities wanting to come into our lives having to fight in that way. We want to create an environment where good seeds have a high probability of germinating and growing and offering something of their nutrients back to us.